2020 as a year had a lot of tech highs and lows. So check out this podcast till the end to check out our year-end review for 2022, where we do different picks of different categories in technology.
Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast, Everything Product. In this podcast, we talk about insights on latest technologies with the product mindset. I'm Srinath, I'm Product Operations Manager working at Twilio.
I'm Sid Saladi. I'm a product manager working for Best Buy.
So, in this podcast, we thought we'll do a little differently where we will discuss our 2022 year end summary, uh, discuss top categories that we thought would be interesting, and share our topics as well. That being said, are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Awesome. So, the first question which I have is what is your top tech innovation from year 2022 that you would like to pick?
Yeah, man. I think for this, it's likely for me is I would say, because we have been hearing a lot of different startups that have been doing a lot of things on the AI space. But I think this year kind of is a prominent place where a lot of applications started adapting all of these open AI applications and all of that stuff. So I would say my top pick here is Chat GPT. So Chat GPT is basically a natural language processing model where you basically type in a question and it answers your questions. Sometimes it's better than Google, right? Where you ask it to write a song, it would do that. And we also tried that with our podcast, where I was asking it, okay, three product managers sitting together talking about product management, can you write a script for me? And it basically writes a script for you. And then it's I think the technology is up to that mark where it actually makes sense to use it in a lot of different applications. And I've also seen uh, um, apps like Notion and also GitHub Copilot using some of these applications, where in Notion you can actually prompt it to give you ideas of what to write, or maybe prompt it to write on a small topic and it does it for you. And in GitHub, you type whatever code you're planning to write, and it generates a snippet of the code for you. So I think these applications would kind of become more and more. And maybe there'll be days where AIs will be writing emails to each other at some point. So I think that's my top pick for on the AI side. And there's also this AI, which is also kind of a image generation model developed on natural language processing, where you can ask it to kind of build an image on maybe an oil paint image which has an astronaut riding a horse on a moon. So that sounds weird, but it generates that for you. So I'd say, and also there are a lot of applications that are being developed on AI. So I would give it to open AI as a company, and AI actually bringing in a lot of real-time applications to these products which OpenAI has developed. How about you?
Yeah, no, that is definitely exciting. That is probably one of the coolest features I've seen recently as well. But I would like to pick another feature, which, or tech that really amazed me this year is how BMW came up with a color changing car. I think they call it as BMW iX Flow. I mean, which I felt was pretty cool in terms of the technology they use to uh, change colors the way you want. For instance, I mean, you wanted like a different color, and one day, for instance, if you want to drive in a car which is black, you can just change it with a button. And similarly, I mean, if me and my wife are like, for instance, I am more inclined to black, my wife is more inclined to blue. So having a technology something like this will really help, so we can have one car versus buying two cars. So that technology was, I mean, really amazing to see how BMW has come up with. I think there are various other use cases as well. For instance, this tech can solve. For instance, during summer days, I mean, you don't want your car to be black because it can absorb more, it can be more warm. Versus if it's, I mean, let's suppose you can change it to white. I mean, probably it's more helpful during summer. Versus in winter, you can drive in a black car, which probably is better, which doesn't absorb a lot of um, I mean, you because you don't have a lot of heat during winter. So I would rate, I mean, BMW color changing car as one of my top tech innovation, and I'm sure more is to come.
Yeah, whenever I've seen any video on Instagram which with cars changing colors, I was like uh, always thinking it was a meme, and I never thought this existed. But good that BMW is doing something which helps you pick more colors than just sticking with one color for years and years, right? That's right.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So I have a second question. So what would be your top like 2022 product that you would like to choose?
Okay, 2022 top product. Yeah, so I would say this is kind of very simple product. So um, I think they solved a very small problem, but they grew that into a very big use case here. So a lot of creators create content on Instagram, right, TikTok, and Twitter, and all of that stuff. But these people have this content in a lot of different places, right? Look, imagine a creator might have a blog, he might have multiple YouTube channels or other social links and all of that stuff, but all of these platforms just allow one link on the top where you can put it on the bio. So if anybody is a follower of that creator, like where does he go to find that information? He can't scroll through thousands of posts which they do, right, or tweets which they do and all of that stuff. So this this product, so it's called, this application, it's called Linktree. So what it does is it'll give you a link, and you can add all the links that kind of link to your profile and what you do. So it actually is a very simple problem, right? Like if you think of it, where giving creators the ability to give all the links or the products they sell and all of that stuff in just one page. So when you click that link in the bio, you see a list of all the links which people can go to learn about them, buy, and all of that stuff. So I think that's a very small problem startup has solved and created a product out of it. And I think now they have close to 23 million uh, people who are using it. And they also have a paid subscription plan, which is I think 599 per month or something, which they give stats of from which channels people are coming, right? So what they are clicking and what they are visiting the most and all of that stuff, and you can actually customize that page with images, colors, and all of that stuff. So I feel that this was stuff need not be that big idea which is revolutionary. It can be a a small thing as a Linktree. So I would pick Linktree as my top category. How about you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll pick, I mean, how Uber is thinking about various kind of work stream, not work streams, I would say different like portfolios. For instance, Uber has been thinking about, I mean, how they can enable the rental car business with an Uber. I mean, as we all know, in 2022, I mean, a lot of offices are still remote. I mean, don't people don't travel, I mean, as they used to before. So Uber has, I think, has been thinking in very, I mean, innovative way on how they can, I mean, pump their business with various kinds of portfolios. So this is the concept they came up with called Uber Rent, which you can do rent a car through app, Uber app, which I mean, the unique thing about Uber rent versus a traditional rental car business is the person comes and drops off the car at your place and picks up from your place, which doesn't happen with a traditional rental car business, where you have to go to a, for instance, if you have to rent a car from airport, you have to all the way drive to airport. I mean, manage all the processes there, which takes away so much time, and then drop off, then drive back. So you always have to look for someone you to drop you and pick you and all that stuff. So many logistics involved. I felt Uber came up with this innovative, not innovative, I would say. I mean, I think streamlined this process by enabling this rental concept within their app and making it so easy for customers. So I
Yeah.
would choose Uber Rent as one of my top product.
So is it available in all the cities now?
It's in pilot currently. It's
Okay,
not
okay.
available in all cities. I think they launched in Washington DC somewhere, and they've been seeing some good results. I think they have a lot of plans to expand, given seeing the success
Yeah,
results.
man, that's crazy because every time I book a rental, right? It's at the airport, so I have to take an Uber to drive there and then pick up the rental and then come back home and load the luggage and then maybe go on a road trip. So they're actually removing that hassle, where maybe if they even charge more, I would prefer to do this because anyways, picking a Uber, going to the airport and coming back would all cost me more than what they offer. That's
Exactly.
a really good idea. Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
that's good. So we had Linktree on my side and Uber Rent from your side. So we are talking about product successes, and maybe we should also talk about product fails here, right? So there were a lot of products that were launched, and maybe we'll pick one product that was a failure. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, from product failures, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, every year we hear so many stories. One failure which I felt was, uh, I mean, Amazon restaurants. I know Amazon is a big player in many different areas. I felt this was one area probably they couldn't execute the way they wanted. And I'm sure, I mean, other businesses like DoorDash, Grubhub, have passed, I mean, have like may have faced similar situations. I think Amazon restaurants probably couldn't, I mean, execute the plans that they wish, and they probably did not get the customers they wanted. So I would choose Amazon restaurants as
So
probably my failure.
can you tell me more about the product? So is it more like Uber Eats or something like that?
Yeah, it's very similar. So how you go and shop around in the DoorDash or Grubhub. So you choose a meal and it gets delivered to your doorsteps.
Okay.
It's a very same concept, but it's just that it's a subsidiary of Amazon, which they built. But unfortunately, it couldn't be successful.
Yeah, yeah, I
How
know
about
that.
you?
Yeah, I think that tells it all, right? Like even though you have Amazon's strength is logistics, right? And maybe they might have thought food delivery is a space where we can play and make it better, but you never know, right? The nuances of each and every business is different.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
What do you think?
my product fails, I would say. I have two for this. I think Luna is one, the Luna coin, which is UST. So I think stable coin was a disruptor, right? Where it was there were a lot of stable coins that were launched, which were or I think most of the stable coins are close to $1 and they match that. And there's also utility coin towards that. And whenever you buy that stable coin, they also have a service on top of it, which actually gives you an interest for staking and all of that stuff. People are thinking because it matches $1 and it's not as fluctuating as the crypto coins, it is a safe option to take that and maybe stake their money and get that interest. But Luna one day went directly to zero because they were actually didn't have enough I think liquid money to support or make it stable at $1. And once when there was a downfall of crypto, a lot of people took out all the coins out of it, and then the coin kind of crashed down. So I think I call it as a product fail because this actually opened up a lot of can of worms, where a lot of companies like FTX, BlockFi, and all were dependent on some of the stable coins, and all of them went bankrupt, right? So all of that happened. So this actually opened up all the holes that were actually present in crypto and all of that stuff. So I would say this is for the good, because there is more regulation now, and there are also stable coins which are actually backed by a dollar. So make sure you, if you get into stable coins and staking and all of that stuff, make sure all of the stable coins you invest in are backed by a dollar, 1 to 1, so that when people take money out, you have your share there, rather than it being an imaginary number somewhere. Make sure that you take care of those things. So that is one of the failure. And second one is, I would say, Stadia, right? Like Google's online gaming, right? So Google being such a big company, and having such so much of hardware expertise and all of that stuff, there was poor adoption, and they had to kill that product. So I think that's also another uh, lesson which we could learn. Even though you are an established organization and you have a lot of uh, community around it's not that easy to make that product successful if that doesn't add value to the user. Yeah.
No,
So
no, those are definitely interesting learnings, especially I think, as you said, Google being such a big company, which has a lot of expertise in the hardware. I think if they couldn't do it, I mean, probably, we don't know what they were thinking about their strategy, customers, and all that stuff. Probably something went wrong there. And similarly, I think there's a lot of interesting lessons around digital currencies and a lot of opportunities where we need to think probably more holistically rather than thinking for short term. So, no, that's a great point as well. Um, Other question which I have is, when now switching into like moving away from the top products companies and that stuff, I also want to just get your thoughts around like the interesting like books. I mean, interesting books that you might have read that you would like to share for our viewers.
yeah, and that's I was like actually struggling to pick one. I normally like to read books, so but I think I have two picks here. So one book is Man's Searching for Meaning. So for everybody who's listening, we'll add all the links into the description, so that you can pick if you like any of these things. But yeah, please check the description for that. So the Man's Search for Meaning, I think it's a very old book. So this book, the author writes about his times in the Nazi camps where he was a prisoner, and and the author actually goes through the worst of conditions, where he doesn't have any hope, and he knows that he's going to be killed at some point, but he's put to work and all of that stuff. And the book basically tells about how can a person survive even with such harsh conditions. So I think it tells you about meaning, how to combat worse situations, talks about the purpose and why do you live and all of that stuff. So the book had a lot of meaning in it. So I would say that would be one of my picks on the book side. And on the other side, I would want to pick a self-help book kind of thing. So this is Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So Ravikant, so he bootstrapped some companies, and he's I think the co-founders of AngelList, and he's invested in a lot of different companies. And also this actually book comprises of all the valuable lessons he learned throughout his life. So it teaches people about how to build wealth, long-term achievement, happiness, and all of that stuff. So that's my second pick. First one is Man Searching for Meaning. Second one is Almanacs of Naval Ravikant.
That's good to know. Probably I need to read these two. I have not read these two, so probably something I'll look into 2023. So my favorite one is a book called Playing to Win, Playing to Win, which was written by, Lafley. He was the CEO in the past of a Procter and Gamble. So, I mean, that book effectively, talks about how do you build an effective product strategy for your product or your company. So it goes around, how you should think about, the customer problem. How do you frame your strategic choices? And from the choices that you make, I mean, how do you choose the best one by validating and doing all the hypothesis testing and that kind of stuff? So that book really helped, I mean, us to think, especially in this year, in our company as well, when we were doing our product strategy, to think about various choices and nail it down to, I mean, few strategic choices versus many that will help us reach the long-term goal. So I would highly recommend anyone who is interested in product strategy or who is looking to build a product strategy for their own product or company. I think this book will be really handy.
Yeah.
So
I,
that's my favorite book.
when you're talking about product books, I have another one in my mind. So the Build Trap. So that's also a good product book. It actually gives, I think, a summary of how product organizations work, how the product process works, and how people build products. And also, I would maybe put that in the product category of suggestions there. Yeah, so
Awesome.
that's good, man. Then let's also move on to, I know podcasts and YouTube has been a big part of learning for a lot of people nowadays, right? So maybe let's go and get into that category, and we'll do YouTube first. So what's a YouTube channel you follow?
I mean, there are tons of channels that I follow, but
Me too.
some of the ones which I will say from product standpoint is, I mean, anything related to product school. So those are some of the things which I actively follow to just, I mean, get myself, I mean, updated with the latest stuff going on in the product world. So I will say product school probably is my top pick there.
Okay. My picks would be, I actually separated them into entertainment and productivity. So on the
Ooh.
entertainment side, I was like Mr. Beast, man. I was like, this guy has like 123 million subs on YouTube, and I think the videos he create are amazing and entertaining. So I'd pick Mr. Beast on the entertainment side, and on the productivity side, there's a person called Ali Abdal. So he creates a lot of productivity hacks, book reviews, and all of that stuff. I think he's a medico turned into a YouTube creator. He has been doing this for 7 years. So his videos are really high quality, and they have a lot of good things to learn about. So I think I've been binge watching his YouTube on productivity apps and also book reviews and all. He also has a podcast where he talks to book authors and digs deep into books and all of that stuff. So that's been my top picks on YouTube. Okay, so maybe let's also, as we are a podcast, we would also want to pick our best podcasts here. So what are your picks on the podcast side?
Uh, From the podcast side, I know there are ton. I mean, I don't know if I can name one right off top of my mind. I mean, first I'll say maybe art stuff which we started as an experiment, everything as product. I mean, that's, I mean, as of now, not being selfish there, but I know there are ton. I would like to hear from you. I mean, it's probably hard for me to pick one as of now, but if you have any thoughts, I would like to hear from you. What do
Yeah,
you
so
think?
I have two. I think these are my favorite. On the product side, there is Lenny's podcast. So Lenny actually started with a newsletter, and he has a big group, following on the newsletter side, where he writes about product, people management, innovation, and all of that stuff. So, and I think he launched a product like 6 or 7 months back, where he also again talks to product leaders, about growing different products, bootstrapping products, taking ideas to product and all of that stuff. So his podcasts are really, um, I think, valuable. And also, when I listen to some of the podcasts, right, these are stuff which are not found outside. So I think I felt these are very valuable there. And the next one which I have is My First Million. So this is also a business podcast, but they talk about businesses and how did they first build their product, generate revenue, and a lot of that stuff. So, and they also talk about a lot of boring businesses than flashy ones, which are heard outside. So My First Million and Lenny's podcasts.
That's awesome. Another similar question which I had was, I'm sure we follow, I mean, a lot of people in LinkedIn or a lot of LinkedIn accounts. I mean, is there anything that you would like to pick for our viewers from your standpoint? I mean, what would be your top, I mean, LinkedIn account pick?
LinkedIn account pick. So for me, on the product side, I follow Lenny. So for his updates on the newsletter and also the podcast, and there's also Shreyas Gupta. So he's also a product leader, and he talks about a lot, a lot about product strategy and stuff. So really like his posts. So that's one other guy which I follow. And there's also Akash Gupta on LinkedIn. So he does a lot of case studies. So I like the way he digs deep into a company and does his long form writing. So Akash Gupta is another person. So he's also a product, I think, a product leader. He works for a firm or something. So there's like three people: Akash Gupta, Shreyas Gupta, and also Lenny. How about you?
Yeah, so there are ton. I mean, I also follow, I mean, few groups which are more product manager groups, which are pretty helpful to understand. I mean, get like insight from various people as well, how they are thinking about from with respect to product management. With respect to, I mean, people, I mean, I also follow a person called Victor Cheng, who is pretty popular for solving case studies or any, I mean, solving kind of like not puzzles, I would say. I mean, solving like more questions which need uh, aptitude level thinking. So I follow him as well to just increase my aptitude there. On the similar lines, who you think is the best CEO currently?
Best CEO. Yeah. I have and I have a lot on this, but maybe I'll pick one. So I feel that Mark Zuckerberg, so on Meta, so it might be little, I don't know, like maybe people might not support what I'm saying, but I feel that this was one guy who had the dare to come out and say that, okay, we are all in on one vision and the company is going to stick to it for the next 10 years. I think it's very rare when CEO of a company comes out where they pivot their whole strategy and whole vision towards one goal where they want to make the metaverse, and they are and also a capital commitment of so much into that, that is going to be the new future of a company. So I would say he's, I know that there's negativity around that metaverse concept, and there's also all of this fad versus hype thing and all of that stuff, but I still support that if a company puts forward a mission, and there are people and we put culture and practices in place which works towards that mission, I think, or vision, that could be possible. So I would pick him. And another one, right, would be Elon. And I think him managing so many companies and again coming back and buying Twitter and changing the path of Twitter would be something very interesting for me to watch. So I'd pick both of these on the CEO side. How about you?
So I know that I have I mean, many, but I'll choose one. I'll choose Satya Nadella from Microsoft as one of my top pick CEO because I think the way he has been leading the company, I mean, through his, I mean, aggressive approach into cloud, into gaming, into various other spaces as well, has been amazing to see. Especially, I mean, I'm currently in Seattle. I mean, Amazon. Sorry, Microsoft is here in Washington, so I get to see a lot of stuff going on with Microsoft, and my wife also works for Microsoft. So I get to see how he leads the company and from an outsider as well, and the confidence that he has when he is speaking, especially in any public speeches, amazes me. I mean, I wish I had those that confidence and when I'm doing a public speaking. So I will say he's my top pick as a CEO.
Yeah, man, I'm a big admirer of him too, and especially after reading his book, where he talks about all the struggles he went through. I know it's a yeah, uh, he's the guy. So maybe let's also move to the next one, Srinath here. So maybe we'll also talk about, there were a lot of bubbles and fads and hypes that were around in 2020. So what is your pick for the biggest fad or hype that went bust, or that was busted? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we covered this a bit earlier. I think my take here is digital currencies. I mean, as we all know, there are so many digital currencies currently that we have, especially in this crypto world. And so everyone came up with their own coins, with their own idea. I mean, I felt like a lot of stuff was hyped initially without probably thinking how that would be in real world, how you can implement that in the real world. So a lot of I feel like were in the probably proof of concept stage, which created a lot of hype, but eventually went down when in real world probably it's hard to implement that. So I think some of the coins which I can think of also is like a deep brain chain. I'm not sure if people are aware about that, like which is also focused more on the AI, machine learning, that stuff, where company came up with a proof of concept, but eventually, I mean, they couldn't implement that, which again, that coin is not there anymore. So that's my take. I mean, what do you think, Sidhu?
Me, it's more about, I'd say on the same lines, NFTs. I guess I think NFTs was like a big hype coming into 2020, where a lot of people were buying crypto punks and all of that, and there were a lot of companies like Coinbase opening up NFT marketplaces, and Binance and all already had some, and OpenSea was becoming big in the valuation, and also number of people visiting the site and all of that stuff. So I was like, man, this is a big trend, and a lot of people are buying in, because they were buying in images with different colors, the same, exactly same image for 2 ETH, 3 ETH, which is 3,000, $4,000, and doesn't made any sense to me. I'd say the good part of it is the technological side has a lot of advantages compared to the traditional way we do it, but it was overhyped, and I think now it's coming back to its value, where most of them lost a significant value, and dropping back to the original values here. So that's my pick, NFTs for hype fad kind of thing. Okay, Srinath. So maybe stocks are interesting, right? So we talk about a lot of products and startups. So if you were to pick one stock, what is your recommendation and why?
So for stocks, I would pick Nvidia. I think Nvidia has a great future. I think they came up recently in October with a new chip for gamers. I think which is called GTX. I mean, can't remember the exact code, but I think that's probably a game changing for a lot of gamers out there. And also, the company is forecasted, a 12-month forecast says they can go up to 325 by end of next year. So I see a lot of upside there. I'm sure. I mean, currently the stocks are not. A lot of stocks in 2022 didn't do well, and especially in the second half when most of them are down. I think we'll see a similar progress in next probably 2-3 months as well. I don't see a lot of upside there. So just be wary out there. But this is not a suggestion. This is what I think would probably happen in 2023. Nvidia. I would bet on Nvidia.
Oh, it was
What do you
my
think?
best pick last year. So for me, I would again go with Meta. So I feel that Meta is very undervalued now, because all the negative press which is all going on around it. So I think it's going in the right direction. So I would hold Meta for a long term. Yeah. So this is just my side of things. Don't take my word for it on any of these
Yes.
recommendations, but my pick would be Meta.
Yes, especially with stocks. For anyone who is watching, do your own research, take
On
your
due
own call.
diligence. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about the tech predictions for 2023. I think as we saw a lot of trends that came in, went down, go up and all of that stuff. So what are your top tech predictions for 2023? And maybe we'll do a review in 2024 again to say that did it become true or not. So what are your top predictions?
I have few. I think first one which I will say is I think cloud technologies will redefine how we watch sports. I mean, currently, even as we all know, we watch sports probably in like cable television, and probably that's the only way, or get through watch this through different OTT platforms like a Willow Cricket. I mean, if you're watching cricket, I think there's a ton of opportunity there because, as we all know, not many consumers have cable television at home, and including myself, I don't have cable television at home. I think this cloud technologies, I think like Amazon has been thinking about how they can stream all this NFL online. Similarly, I think Netflix is starting to come up with having a lot of fitness related stuff, trainings, and that kind of stuff, and sports kind of stuff within Netflix as well, collaborating with Nike. So I think there's a lot of this cloud technologies will redefine how we watch sports. So that I will think of happening in 2023 more. Another thing which I can think of is security and privacy. I mean, as we all know, it's very
Yeah.
important aspect for any company because a lot of companies, as we all know, I mean, have managed customer data. So how do we make sure we have accurate control, security, privacy practices in place so information is accurately, I mean, secured? I mean, this year or probably even the recent years, we have heard many stories where executives have been called to various committees and asked questions about all the security and protocols and all that stuff. So I think a lot of companies will be thinking about this as well going into 2023 and putting some high investment there because once a trust is lost on the company because of a security breach, it's hard to regain that confidence back. So these are the two things which I can think of. Another thing I think we discussed before is AI. I think we are already seeing a lot of artificial intelligence stuff going on. I think you already talked earlier about the chat GPT and that stuff. So I don't want to go again, repeat the same thing. But these are the three things which I can think of. What do you think, Sidhu?
Yeah, so yeah, man, it's crazy how everything changed, right? In when I was a kid, we used to get this cable TV where you pay once a month and you actually get all the channels for that, right? And now it's more a la carte where you pick and choose the streaming services you want to watch. And now it's coming to live TV, as you said, sports and all of that stuff. Yeah. And also the next trend is privacy as a product, right? For even Apple is pushing privacy a lot. So yeah, I agree with both of them. From my side, right, I feel that the first thing would be there is a lot of AI driven algorithms with social media and all a lot of the big companies already. But I would say AI would reach small businesses and even smaller applications and all of that stuff. So it's more AI as a service. I think will become more big and big, where a lot of these apps would integrate algorithms and recommendations engine using a lot of these services. And communication would be more AI driven rather than people to people. So I think that's one trend which I would say would go big in 2023. The second one I would say is creator communities and creator economies. So I think this year Mr. Beast has proved that he started as a YouTuber, and then now he has a Mr. Beast burger, right? So there, that's a burger joint, a cloud kitchen with, I think thousands of restaurants around the US. Uh, Also, he started a chocolate bar company called Feastables, and I think this is all, uh, ba- you know, on the community which he built. So I feel that there will be more and more creators like this coming out and creating their own products and giving a big competition to bigger companies like Hershey's or McDonald's and all of that stuff. So I think creator run communities and creator run products will get more and more big in 2023. So these two, and the third one is I feel that Twitter will become something like a mother app or something, right? Like where WeChat, where you could do a lot of different things in Twitter, because after Elon took over Twitter, he has made a lot of changes, right, with badges and all of that stuff. But I feel that Twitter has a lot of potential, because the main media now, right, most of the media, like bigger media houses, are incentivized to have hook lines rather than report the right news, right? And also they go in and research and do it. But Twitter is a place where people can be in that place and report things, so there is more reliable information. I'm not saying that there is misinformation, not no misinformation in Twitter. Twitter has misinformation too, but Twitter is a place where you can get information in, seconds from the people who are there. So I think that there's a very big potential there. So I would want to see Twitter growing from a 3 million app to billions of users. So I'd say that that trend would might happen, picking up in 2023. So these three are the top ones from my side.
Yep. Yeah. No, I think a lot of interesting stuff, especially is happening with Twitter after Elon Musk took over. I'm sure there'll be, some of the, innovation stuff for that he'll be probably thinking about in 2023. So yeah, now on a fun side, I wanted to focus like probably on a different topic, which is probably just discussing our coolest moment when we were doing this podcast. I know we all started this as an experiment, but I've been getting a lot of awesome support from various viewers. I hope we continue to get, and there's a lot of stuff, exciting stuff coming in 2023. Uh, what would you say your coolest moment when you were doing this podcast?
I still remember this, right? Like I think we were posting videos and online, and people were subscribing and all of that stuff, and uh, we were getting comments. So every time I got a comment, I used to post it in the WhatsApp group saying that, is this a person who we knew, right? So I think initially it was everybody who were like family, friends, and all of that stuff. But I think one point was where a person commented who we all didn't knew, right? So I think that was my point, coolest moment for me at least, because I was like, okay, we started this as an experiment, and now there are people who are liking it and also commenting on it. And after that we received a lot of other comments from people who we didn't know. So I think that first comment was my coolest moment on my podcast, on this podcast. How about you?
Yeah. So for me, I'll say shorts. I think probably this was the first time probably I was doing more and more shorts. Honestly, I was not a fan of like far away from reels in the past. Honestly, so when I was doing on shorts for our videos, obviously we had to be creative. We had to tell our story and like a few words versus telling and like in a long sentences and all that stuff. And at the same time, you need to be creative as well when you're doing shorts. So I'll say when doing shorts as well, which was fun and coolest thing for me when I was doing this podcast.
Yeah, man, it was a new experience for me too. Showing my face and also telling it in a such concise format where you have to make sense, and also it needs to add value to people. It's a difficult task. Yeah.
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah. So then let's move on to this another topic here. Like maybe if you were to name some professionals which you actively follow, who would they be?
Um, I think I covered this a bit earlier. I'll say, I actively follow, Satyanadella from Microsoft. I also follow Sundar Pichai, as well as Andrew JC from Amazon. So these are the three folks I actively follow on a regular basis to talk about, how they approach problems, how they think about, the long term, on where their investments are, how do they strategize, and also some of these folks talk about their investments as well. For instance, when they acquire, not investments, I would say acquisitions, and a lot of these companies acquire other companies. I think they talk about, what's in it and why they felt it would be the right decision and all that stuff. So I actively follow these. So if anyone who is looking for good, maybe uh, for someone to follow, maybe they can look around these people.
Mhm.
What do
Yeah.
you think, Sidhu?
For me, I yeah, when I have I follow Elon a lot. So he's one guy, and also Satya Nadella. So I think he I like the way he puts things together there. So both of them, and there's also a new person which I've been following, which is he's called Justin Welch. So he's more on the content creator side. So he actually gives a lot of tips on creating content, writing, and all of that stuff. So I kind of learning a lot from the posts he does. So that's another person which I would say I would go with. Okay,
Good.
so maybe I think we are almost getting to the end of it, right? So we'll talk about the biggest product learning of 2022. What would that be?
For me, I would say, I mean, product strategy. When I was probably working for I mean, not for the first time, probably on a unique product that I was working on and figuring out what makes sense for 3 to 5 years. Probably, I had to do a lot of, I mean, research around it, work with so many people to build a product strategy. I mean, other stuff which I will say is road mapping. So we built a process within our company and to use and basically uh, on figuring out what is the plan we need to have, what are the features that we need to launch, how do we plan to get there, kind of capacity or resource planning. So that was a one big learning for me as well, going navigating through various complexities, limited bandwidth, resources, and all that stuff. Last but not the least, I'll say, I mean, a customer feedback loop. So, how do you get access to customer insights and close the loop with customers? How do you effectively do that with a framework, with a process? How do you bring people together? And how do you build confidence within your stakeholders as well as customers, making sure their voice is heard? So I'll rate these three as some of my big product learnings. I'm sure there is a ton of scope for improvement, which we need to continue to address. But I'll say these are my topics.
Okay,
What do you think,
so
Siddhu?
on my side, I would say I think the cost of failure has gone down so much because of all the technological advancements. Now you can actually build a product over a weekend, launch it, and see if it's working out or not. So I would say uh, instead of getting into analysis paralysis mode where you look at the market, try to figure out what the things are, interviewing people, all of that stuff, why not just build it out, send it out, and then get active feedback. So I think my biggest learning is the cost of failure has gone so much. So make sure you get all the validation by actually doing it, and implementing it, and through action rather than assumptions and uncertainty. So that's one of my biggest learnings. And second one is uh, I feel that execution is everything for any product. So don't be afraid to tell your ideas out, right? Or publish your ideas. So great companies are built on big visions, so people can copy your idea, not your vision. So I'd say uh, put your ideas out, get validation, right, and see what people used to say. I think the person who executes it the best is the person who is actually going to make the product and build a company out of it. So these two are my biggest learnings on that side.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I totally echo you on the first one. I think I always believe in learn by doing because you cannot build a perfect product in the first instance. So you need to make sure you're open-minded, you are taking feedback, iterating the product, and I mean, building improvements and take one step at a time. So we cannot always build a perfect product. So yeah, so last but not least, I would like to end our podcast with this interesting or maybe an achievement question. So, what would you say that is your proudest achievement for this 2022?
Yeah, I was actually reflecting on a couple of things, but I would say the first thing is our podcast, right? Like starting it as an experiment, and 5 months down the line, we have done 18. This is our 18th episode. We have a viewership, and people have been listening in, I think, 14 or 15 different countries now. So that's really good. So I feel that this was one of a good place for us to learn things and also talk about, and also uh, meet weekly once, right? Just to talk about certain things. So that was one of the good things that happened. Also, for me, I started writing a lot. So I started creating content in different platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram took off, and I think the number of people who are liking the content is good. So I'm getting good feedback on that, and there's like 20,000 people on that side of things. And there's also long form of content which I'm writing, which actually is a newsletter where there are people following that. So I feel that I was previously I was reading a lot. Now that I'm writing, it's organizing my thoughts better. So I feel that there was one piece missing when I was just reading, but now reading and writing is helping me to articulate things better, write things better, and also tell the same to other people. So I'd say the whole writing point would be another thing which helped me a lot, make connections, grow a following, a community, and also meet new people. So both of these things are an achievement. And one other thing, was reading books. I kind of like reading a lot of books. So I in 2018 I set myself goal of reading 100 books, right? So this year I kind of completed reading so many books. So and one thing
Awesome.
which I learned from it is I saw different people who have done that before, and I was like, okay, I should do it someday. But I think it took me 5 years to do it. So it's one step at a time. So I'd say these three are something which taught me a lot. It's not kind of bragging about all of these things, but I'd say helped me a lot with the way which I talk and articulate and talk about product.
Awesome. I'll talk about two from my side, one on a personal friend and probably one on a professional friend. On a professional front, I think I have a similar one like you that you mentioned about our podcast. What we started as an experiment that we never thought of that we would be okay starting so something so quickly and we'll be able to complete 18 episodes by end of this year. I think that was I mean huge effort, team effort. I think including you, Funny, and myself. So I'll say that was probably one of my proudest achievement. I mean, not just starting, but seeing the results. Because you can start so many things, but
Yeah.
if it's like you launch a product, but if it doesn't get adopted, then what matters, right? So I think I mean some of the stats that you mentioned earlier. In addition to that, I was amazed to see that our content was rated top 26% of the content created in business category, and we had so much watch time. I think we had like 14,000 plus minutes of watch time until like I think mid December. I'm sure that would have been more by now. So I think after seeing those results, I was really proud. Oh, okay, so we started something. I think people are liking it. People are supporting us. So that really motivated me to do this. I mean, every week with our team. So I'll say that on a professional front. On the personal front, I mean, I'm a proud father of a 15-month-old daughter. I mean, it was definitely a challenging year for us to manage, for me to manage home, work, baby at home with no daycare, all that stuff. So I'll be definitely proud the way my wife supported me. I mean, she also works, so I felt like we both supported each other during this time, and I feel very proud that we were able to end this year on a high note. So those
Yeah.
are the two things which I'll say.
Yeah, I'd say it's not easy. So Srinath being a father, being a first time father, learning things, how to take care of baby and all of that stuff. And he's been coming to the podcast, right? Sometimes we have to shift our times, when he has to get her to bed and all of that. And then he comes to the podcast and all. It's not easy to manage a kid, with work and also doing podcasts and all of that stuff. So let's say you're a proud father and she'll be proud of you. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think it's all teamwork. I think you, Funny, have been very flexible, especially with a lot of changes going around. I highly appreciate all that. At the end, it's all about one team.
Yeah, that's right. Perfect. So I think this was just our version of review on different products and what we think and all of that stuff. So I'll also try to put some links of all of the things which we have talked to. So feel free to go and if you want to pick a book or a product which we talked about, learn more about that. Feel free to check in the description about that. But I think 2022 was a really good year for all of us, and we wish the same for you guys, and we are actually up to more challenges in 2023, and we want to bring in more interesting content to you guys from everything product.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, placement to what all Sidhu said. Wish you all a happy new year. I mean, wish you all the good luck for 2023. And please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, which is Everything Product. A lot of exciting stuff to come in 2023. So, I mean, look out for that. Thank you.